Welcome guys, you're in the studio with Ed Lester, and today we have Definitive Audio Designs, or DAD for short. And you may not know this, but I myself am a subwoofer designer and builder, and so how about we have a review from an actual designer, not just some boring stiff with a camera. Now, have you ever had a hard time choosing a subwoofer for you? Well, you're not alone, and hopefully this helps. Now, DAD has a full line ranging from the entry-level AMH, the middle level, the KH, up to the Big Daddy, the BD series. I like the way that thing looks. But anyway, there are some companies out there that overvalue their name while other companies undervalue their product. Well, now DAD is a newer company, and sometimes that's the wise choice to go with because they're hungry and they're pricing their product right while building it as best as they can to try and get a hold in the marketplace. Usually the first thing people look at when choosing a subwoofer is power handling. That's only natural. You want to match it correctly to your amplifiers that you're using. Now, in manufacturing subwoofers, you usually go by a 20% tolerance. You rate your subwoofers at 20% under what you actually test that they can handle at. And some people out there think power handling has to do with the size of the magnet. This is not true at all. There's a lot of things that go into a subwoofer that determine its power handling. And if we look at the 200 watt entry level AMH, we can see that it's actually overbuilt for that level. The voice coil is one thing, the type of wire used and the gauge of the wire, and also the amount of wire determines how much thermal power handling the voice coil can handle. And things like the depth of the basket and how far the cone can actually travel before it breaks. And the other thing is the motor size and geometry. Here we have a single slug motor. We don't need a lot of depth. We don't need a huge motor on an entry series, so to keep costs down, they're usually single slug, small magnet. And this in particular it's overbuilt, has nickel plated push terminals, which is rare on an entry level, has loop sewn in tinsel leads into the spider, which is very rare as well. And the only thing that limits the power handling on the AMH series is the depth of the magnet. It doesn't have to move that much at 200 watts. So it's built perfectly for what it has to do. Now here we have the KH series. This is the KH8. And this is respectfully rated at 350 watts RMS, when actually the entire KH series is rated at 500 watts RMS. So this uses parts of a 500 watt subwoofer. The only limiting factor of why this may be rated lower is the depth of the basket. Being an 8-inch subwoofer, it's not going to be as deep as a 12 or a 15-inch subwoofer. So travel under higher power would be limited. That's called X-Mech. So how much mechanical movement we can get out of this structure. But just like all the DAD subwoofers, it features the same cooling design, which is trickle-down aspects from the BD series. It's a vented pole piece and actual spider plateau venting, which was a new feature back in the late 90s, pioneered by MTX and early 2000s. High gauge inlaid tinsel leads, just like the AMH and BD. It's a 2.5-inch copper voice coil that's vented on the former. So there's a lot of cooling features that go into these to allow them to run all day under decent power ratings. And the 8-inch series is one of the best priced beefy little 8-inch subwoofers out there. Now we step it up to the BD series, the Big Daddy of the group. Now it's the Big Daddy. It didn't give birth to all the other subwoofers. It merely impregnated some woofer builder out there. But it takes a lot of the features that the other series have and just steps it up a notch. It's very underrated at 1,000 watts. And it has a 3-inch copper-clad aluminum voice coil, so it has pretty high thermal handling capabilities. And it takes those tinsel leads and it just increases the size. And they're a flat wire, a higher gauge flat wire that's inlaid with the spiders. Now the spiders are dual space spiders, and this allows for more excursion while remaining linear, which can increase SPL and does not increase distortion. So it remains sounding very nice at a higher excursion, and it's still has all the same cooling features, just a bigger vents. in the spider plateau and in the actual pole piece on the bottom. Now there are a few things to consider when choosing a subwoofer of this caliber, and if you're either comparing it to other subwoofers in this price range, there's a few things I'll point out to look for. And also if you're looking to upgrade from a middle level type subwoofer like the KH8, there's a few things also that would stick out. The first thing is the basket. Now on some subwoofers in the price range of the BD series and subwoofers of a middle level like the KH8, they come with the stamped steel basket, whereas the BD has a cast aluminum basket. Now the importance of that, number one, is strength. The size of the motor, the weight of it, and also the inertia and the force from the movement of the cone need quite a strong and rigid frame. That's why we have a cast aluminum basket. Where we don't have that much weight hanging off the back of the basket of the KH8 series or most middle to entry level subwoofers, we don't need a lot of strength. So we can use a stamped basket, and we go with steel. Now the other benefit of the basket on the BD series is it's not ferrous. Aluminum is not a magnetic material. So this actually does translate to a smoother response and sound. Now some other things we want to look at are the materials used in construction and the build quality, which determine the durability of the subwoofer. Now the BD series features a multi-layer foam surround which does not fatigue over time with high excursion. It's also stitched into the cone, which reduces any risk of tearing. And the dust cap is actually one-piece dish cap polypropylene, which doesn't deteriorate with any kind of UV sunlight or chemicals, oils, things like that. And it features this nice gasket that seals it to the baffle when mounting. Other things to look at are the quality of the wire used and the solder connections, as well as the glue beads that hold all the parts together. What does not determine quality is where the subwoofer is built, whether it's China, Mexico, or the US, or even Canada. As long as the parts look put together very well with nice solid glue beads, nice solid solder connections, and the parts are of high quality and they feel solid and durable, then the subwoofer itself is going to be durable and solid. Now one last determining factor when choosing a subwoofer is the aesthetic appeal, the look of the thing. And the DAD subwoofers, I think, have a very unique look. They have this nice sleek black finish, and the way the frame and the motor match up just has a very unique and very nice look that I love. And I hope you guys love it too. Go check them all out. We have a full inventory at www.showtimecaraudio.net, and if you have any other questions you can ask me. Check out the site for all the specs and more pictures. And thank you again for coming in the studio with me, Ed Lester, at Showtime Car Audio, and have a nice day.